Hey there and welcome back to Remnant. We're doing the perfect dodge today. All our things are all about dodges. Is it super efficient? Is it the best thing to ever do? No, but it's kind of fun just to use all the things together and kind of see how it goes. Hit and miss depending on what you're dealing with, right? Now, for the setup, overall, we're doing this on Apocalypse, so we get to have some fun there. Archetype-wise, Challenger, Invader, because I've got a bit of a melee focus on it, even though really I don't have to do that. But that's just how I chose to do it. Plus, the Invader has the innate untouchable trait, so we've got that increased evade window, plus it's got the void cloak, so we can do some auto dodges, which will be fun. We're not going to trade anything, but Juggernaut can help us out with some melee damage and stuff, right? But the real meat and potatoes of the whole setup is with the amulet and the rings, and then our melee weapon mutator. So the amulet, there's one really that we're interested in using, and that's Birthright of the Lost. So when on a perfect dodge, it applies exposed to the attacker for 10 seconds. Now exposed will increase the damage they take by 24%. It decreases with other players. If you're doing multiplayer, it's not going to do 24% extra damage, because I mean, if you think about it, that's going to be really broken, because suddenly you're not the only person doing 24% more damage. It's everybody, so it has to tone it down. I don't know how much it does, and I mean, really, I'm probably not going to do it in multiplayer, but it would be a kind of interesting way to do a support thing for your teammates by increasing how much damage they do by applying an exposed. Is that better than just you yourself doing another 15% more damage or something? I mean, maybe not, but it's a different thing to do, right? Now, cool thing about it is it's not melee focused, right? A lot of this stuff that we have on doesn't have anything to do with melee, so you can dodge a ranged attack on an enemy and then hit them with a ranged attack and do more damage. Hit them with mods, make them take more status effect damage, right? It applies to all the damage they take, so that's a pretty fun part of it. Now, when we go into our rings, right, we can only equip 4, but there's 5, 6, or 7 different rings that we can have that have different dodge properties, right? And these are just the 4 that I've chosen to roll with. The first one is the feedback loop. So on a perfect dodge, it triggers an explosion that deals shock damage and applies overloaded to enemies. This is affected by amplitude, so I've upped my points into amplitude so that it's a 4.5 meter blast instead of a 3 meter blast. So it's just a little bit wider to catch some other guys. It's not a huge difference, but it's a little bit of something, right? Really great ring. Pretty much all of these rings and things individually are good. You could totally throw them in there to whatever you're doing. Altogether, it's a little too much on the whole dodge thing, but feedback loop is great. I have absolutely loved running it before, especially on you start making a hardcore character and you just got to work with what you got. This is a great ring because it's just adding damage to a mechanic that you're going to be doing anyways. You have to dodge, right? It's just a key integral part of the game, and then suddenly adding in an AoE explosive on top of it with the status effect, overload on it. Really fun. It's really enjoyable. The next one is the Burden of the Audacious. I've talked about it before in one of my other builds, was the Burden amulet thing. Decreases all healing by 50%, but then perfect dodges will heal you for 20% of your maximum health. A lot of fun. Really enjoy it, dude, right? Because even though it's decreasing all your healing, that can be a little frustrating, right? But as long as you're dodging, which that's what we're doing, you can heal up. And sometimes, right, especially Apocalypse, you get hit once, you lose a big old chunk of your health, and then your next hit, you're probably going to go down. So you immediately have to start playing defensive, dodging all the next attacks to really find an opportunity to use your relic and heal up. But with this, once you switch into that defensive, oh, I've got a hit, and you're just focused on dodging some attacks, you no longer have to look for an opportunity to use your relic, because guess what? It's dodging has healed you up. So you can continue the gameplay, the flow of combat, and just heal up as you do things, right? And that's pretty fun. I do really enjoy that. Now, I mean, obviously, it's not a make or break thing, just the feedback loop isn't make or break either, necessarily. But, it's a cool thing to do as far as, healing goes. Then we've got the Akari Warband. Perfect dodges increase critical chance by 15% and critical damage by 15% for 15 seconds. Lots of 15s. Another solid ring. Lots of builds use it, as far as I'm aware of, right? Because it's just, you're dodging things. You can self-proc it with some other effects from different guns, and then 15% more crit chance and damage is great. It can really help you to feed into a good critical hit build, and it doesn't specify melee, doesn't specify ranged or anything. It's just across the board, increased crit chance and damage, which is very cool. And then the last ring I'm using is a Bridge Warden's Crest. This one is a melee focused one. So perfect dodges will increase our melee damage by 15% for 7 seconds, Perfect evade flops will also give us 10% damage reduction for the duration. We're not flopping, so we don't care about that part, right? But 15% more melee damage for 7 seconds is pretty cool, right? And we're going to be dodging a pretty fair amount. So really, anytime we're like really in the thick of it, it's going to be doing it pretty much all the time upkeep, right? So not a bad one. It's okay, right? But what are some of the other rings? We have the Frivolous Band. Increases evade speed by 10%, and then perfect evade will increase our fire rate by 10%, melee speed by 10% for 10 seconds. I was using this one for a bit. I did like it. I don't know that I super noticed the evade speed increase. Like, it does. Like, I think it was a little bit there. But, you know, bad thing was using this or getting used to having untouchable traits or something is once you have those things that are extending windows and, like, how fast you do things, so once you take them away, it can feel kind of bad. But this one I didn't feel so much. But the increased fire rate and melee speed is kind of nice, though, too, right? So this is a good option if you have it, right? Like, options are always nice. And again, it's melee speed and fire rate, so it's not just a melee focused one, it's not just a ranged focused one. And then we've got Ring of Diversion, increase in vulnerability window while evading and sliding. I pretty much never slide. I can never seem to do it well, so like I'm not worried about that one. But the evading can be pretty nice. However, I've already got 10 points in Untouchable, so I don't feel like I need it. If you feel like you do, or maybe you just don't have a ton of options and you really just want to do a bunch of dodge things, you know, it's totally a choice, totally an option you can run with, right? And then we've got the White Glass Bead. Perfect dodges apply a shield for 15% of your maximum health lasting 10 seconds. Can't stack with itself. So it's just a nice another defensive one. So like once you dodge something, get a little buffer, you know, over your health. Nothing crazy. It's decent. I find it, you know, the idea of it works better when you're doing like an overall like shield build, because getting perfect dodges to just have a shield and then get bonuses for having that shield is better. But, you know, you could totally use that as well if you need a defensive ring. Dodging, like I said earlier, it's a key mechanic in the whole game. You're going to be dodging something, right? So just getting some shields is nice. Now we also have our relic. This is the Quilted Heart. It does not provide standard healing, but on use it will negate stamina drain and causes your evades to heal you for 15 health over a quarter second. Now unfortunately, right, we've got the Burden of the Audacious, so that kind of messes up some of the healing. But I've used this relic in the past before, and it's actually pretty fun. It's kind of weird to get used to using it, because you use it and it's not immediate healing. You almost have to like kind of pre-game it, right? Like, okay, I'm going into a fight, because it lasts for 20 seconds. You use it right before, as you're going into a big fight, and then like as you dodge and do things, you're healing up. It also affects your charge attack, so you use this, there's no stamina drain period, so then you can like just spam some charged melee attacks and like get a lot of like mileage out of it, which is pretty nice. On the whole, it's really grown on me, especially if you are like in a tight situation. Just being able to back to roll like over and over again and not worry about your stamina is actually pretty clutch at times. Now rune wise, I put in increased maximum health, melee crit damage, melee crit chance, because we've got the Ikari Warband on, right? So it's already giving us a little bit of a crit chance increase. We're going to kind of, you know, add into that a little bit. And then the last major piece to talk about would be the mutators for our melee weapons, and also just our melee weapons in general, right? And for the most part, the build itself, like, I mean, it's mostly in the amulet and the rings, right? The melee weapon is whatever you really feel most comfortable with. I've run around doing things like this with a whole bunch of weapons. There are some that specifically have stuff with the neutral dodge attacks, right? So we have the Feral Judgment, right? You get that neutral backdash charge attack, applies death sentence, hits him a whole bunch of times. And an interesting thing with that goes with the mutator we're going to be using, and that is the Disengage mutator. So our melee strikes increase the damage of our next backdash evade attack by 10%, stacking 5 times for 50% total damage, right? But if you do a perfect neutral dodge, that will give you 5 stacks right away. So you can just neutral dodge an enemy attack and immediately have a full powered enhanced neutral dodge attack. Now this little death sentencing on this, so if you apply the death sentence and you don't have any stacks of the Disengage mutator up, all those hits are melee hits, so it'll actually stack it up super quick. So I'm going to assume it would also apply to a bunch of other different melee effects or things, right? But moving on to our melee weapons again, right? The different ones. This one has a unique neutral dodge effect that we could be using. The let's see, where did it go? The Nightshade does as well. Gives you more lifesteal. Perfect dodges are going to increase that duration by a lot. You've got the Spectral Blade, of course. This thing creates a big whirlwind, There's some things to kind of mention there with our mutators. Was that pretty much it? I mean, you could still use the projectile attack of the World's Edge. You could still use the Stonebreaker thing, right? But again, some things with it, right, is that not a lot of those effects work super well with like our disengage mutator, which is the main one that we're looking at. So, for example, Spectral Blade, the disengage, if we equip that in there, we get it fully charged, right? If you then neutral dodge back and then hit a guy with your fully charged whirlwind attack, if you hit them with the blade, the whirlwind part of it does not seem to get increased damage because it has instead increased the melee strike that you've done. But if you are far away and you don't actually hit enemies with the blade, then I noticed the whirlwind effect was actually getting that 50% damage increase. So you could play around with it like that, right? But I mean, if you really want to do a Spectral Blade thing at that point, I mean, just do like Tainted Blade applying corrosion to everybody. Like, don't even worry about the dodge things. Like, it's this whole other thing you could totally be doing. Now, I'm going to be using Edge of the Forest because I do really feel like I like the katana neutral dodge attacks and stuff like the most. To me, they just feel really good, really smooth with like fast recovery times. Like if you watch when we do this attack here, right? If we do our neutral dodge back, and look how quickly we can like disengage back and then like counter attack, like real fast. And there's some of the other weapons are just don't do it as well. Like your great swords, like if you go back, like look how long that is compared to the other, right? And I haven't mentioned it. Atom Splitter does have a unique neutral evade attack on there. You can do fun things with that with like Quilted Heart, and then you just sit at the distance and like keep spamming it out there. This to me though is kind of like your poor man's World's Edge in a way, unfortunately. But you know, it is what it is. Armor wise, we've got the full Radiant set on. Trait wise, again, nothing is like make or break for this build because it's just about kind of dodging some things. Strong back and untouchable, maxed out regrowth, fortify, swiftness, vigor, and endurance. We maxed out endurance because we are doing a lot of back-to-back dodging, right? And because we don't have any like stamina recovery in the middle of fighting, like I didn't take the Drakestone Pearl ring or whatever, I have to have a large stamina pool so I don't run out of stamina, right? And then, you know, I just rely on the basic, like my 5 points in recovery to kind of help speed along that stamina recovery. We've also got some spirit going on. I've maxed out both amplitude and resonance because like I was messing with Spectral Blade. I've been doing a bunch of other different things that are gaining benefits from having amplitude, like feedback loop. I've also got some things that benefit from the resonance, like say Spectral Blade. Or in my other gun here, we've got Soulbinder. In addition, it also has Kill Switch, which is affected by Amplitude. So those are some things, as well as the Song of Aethir. So I've got some effects here that are benefiting from both Amplitude and Resonance. And because I am doing a fair amount of melee, Arcane Strikes is a couple points in there just to kind of help us out with some, you know, mod charge speed. Now we're in the Dormant Nerudian facility. The gameplay that I'm going to show you is it's not gonna be kind of my standard things because like, it's sort of a meme build, right? Like this is just dodging things. And I'm going to weave in melee attacks in there. There's going to be bugs. I suck at dodging the bugs. But we'll have some fun there. And then I'm going to try and fight Tal'Ratha. We'll see how that one kind of goes. I think we could get some pretty nice dodges when he does all his like melee attack swipes. But on the whole, I mean, I enjoy dodging things and getting lightning effects, getting some bonuses and stuff. It can be a lot of fun, right? And just like that. Oh, look at that. Oh, it's so nice. I had that split damage from the Soulbinder that I put on the dude. And then on top of the lightning. Worked out nice, right? So it's just kind of fun to do that. Now, is it like... I mean, I could totally have just like gone in and like shot these guys without like having to wait and dodge things. But I mean, you can't get that same experience if you're just shooting them, right? And I mean, just like that, that is the build. That's what you do. And look at all those solid critical hits that we're just getting baseline from that thing. It's my cat-like reflexes. We're gonna neutral dodge this thing. And then that'll trigger it. He doesn't get hit by the lightning, but now he's got the exposed. So we're gonna be able to do more damage if I can actually hit the dude effectively. Kind of like that. My gunplay has been pretty bad today. It's definitely not from, you know, the after-work adult beverages that I'm having or anything like that. Or the splitting headache from work or... Nah, none of that. That's just me. But we keep going. And that's pretty much it. Now, a cool thing as well was this kind of setup, and particularly with Burden of the Audacious and the Void Cloak. Burden of the Audacious, we heal when we dodge. If you ever get super low and you're like, oh my god, there's a lot of stuff happening, I'm getting overwhelmed, and you have taken damage, especially if you've taken damage, you pop the Void Cloak, and then every attack you do, you're just auto-evading, and it's a perfect dodge. So then you're healing, and you're triggering feedback loop. And I should mention, too, and I meant to talk about it at the beginning, sometimes people hear perfect dodge and they think it's this like neutral backdash. It's not it. Perfect dodge just means you have successfully dodged an enemy attack. That's all it means. Now, when it says neutral evade, like say the right here on the disengage, perfect neutral evades grant 5 stacks, you have to do that. That's the only way it works. I just realized I'm like chit-chatting and I've got a 3-minute timer left. Hey guys. Cool thing is too, what you can do with like the katana, if you're not really focused on actually dodging things, with the like kind of sprinting in running attack, you come in, you do that 1-2, that's 2 hits, stacks to your disengage up already, and then you can just immediately chop dodge back and get that dude. Maybe I should not be taking those damage, but we got some healing thanks to the Audacious. Let's pop one of these. I might have to try and dodge. Yep, we're just gonna focus on dodging and that'll heal us. Oh, I nearly messed that up. Now I would like to use my relic. Popped it. Roll. 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 Yeah, unfortunately, it just doesn't heal as much because we have the Burden of the Audacious on. So it's not amazing for us right now. But it does negate the stamina drain, which is pretty cool. You know, that's nice. And it is a little bit of some other healing on top of what we're doing. We'll go ahead and we'll drop down. And we're just going to try and fight this aberrant enemy. I don't know that I'm going to win, depending on what he's got going on. He's flying. I mean, I've got the, whatchamacallit, I've got Song of Ehhhh, that's the one. I've got Song of Ehhhh, so that'll do some stuff. If he's a minion guy, we've got the Soulbinder. If I wanted to, like, really be good, like, I mean, I'll put on the, Spectral Blade, and I'll do that, right? Alright, let's take him out. We will pop the Quilted Heart early. I really just like having to juggle stacks of sharks. It's really annoying. I wish it, like, peeled off one at a time instead of, you know, all at once. I was a little early on my initial relic use, so I just popped another one. Spiteful Thick-Skin Teleporter. Oh, he's kind of low. Roll. Oh, that didn't do anything. Well, let's do this. We're not consuming any stamina, so we can kind of just spam this over and over. Now, it's not doing a lot of damage. Oh my god, that was a lot. I popped the Shadow Cloak to just auto-dodge things. So that worked out for us. Let's use our relic now. And then when we dodge and do this... Roll. Aha. Oh, yeah. See, that's unfortunate trying to do those neutral dodges. Yeah, obviously not doing very well here, right? But we can do this. We'll just hit him with that. He's got the exposed on him, so we can actually do a lot of hits on him. Or a lot of damage, potentially, if I can actually hit him in his weak spot. My Widowmaker right now has top heavy in it, so he's getting some extra, like, you know, damage for being at max magazine, plus, whatchamacallit, the weak spot hits and stuff. That was not what I wanted to have happen. Let's go ahead and just use Juggernaut. We'll use another one of these. This will get us a lot of stacks at Bulwark. And then, swap, boom, boom. Super exciting fight, I know. Owie. Oh, God. Yeah, that goes. Yeah, spamming the Spectral Blade wasn't really doing it there. Without having, like, without being, like, super built into it, doing, like, some Tainted Blade on it, or I would, like, Reinvigorate, maybe. Something like that that's, like, really up in its damage. That would have been, like... I mean, we could have done it, but it would have been really annoying.
Bring them to me at once.
Fucking creeping cat in the background. I just noticed a cat creeping in the background. You see her back there? Look at that thing. Alright, here we go. It's been a while since I fought this guy, too, actually. I feel like I've just been fighting Shahala, like, non-stop. I just should have made sure my concoction was full up. 4 minutes. Here we go. And had some poison Ambit Ember. That might have helped as well. Empathy and Drain, huh? Oh, hello, child. Can I help you? Not quite. There's a dodge. Need to watch out for the roll, right? I say let's watch out for the roll, and then what happens? I immediately let myself get absolutely crushed. Bummer for me. Is he gonna roll again? Yep. Yeah, we can make this work. You know? Ow, I wasn't ready for that one. I forgot he has that move. That was nice of him to wait. See, this is what I like about the katanas, right? Is the recovery. So, like, when you've got multi-hit attacks from bosses and stuff, or elites, depending on what you're fighting, like, you can actually recover in time to dodge the various attacks. I keep forgetting he has that belly attack. We can try it again. I thought I dodged that. Come on. I like being able to heal in the dodges. That's nice. Oh, I got your belly bump that time. Can you move over? Getting a little tight in that corner. Oof, that could have been scary. I rolled that. You know I rolled it, game. Let's go ahead and do some of this. Oh, what happened to my auto shadow cloak dodges? Do they not dodge that? Can I? Okay. Oh, that was really annoying. Oh, come on. Come on. Oh, God, stupid belly. What hit me? I'm sorry, what? That was dumb. I don't really want to use my relic, but I also would love to heal, please. There we go. There's a heal. There's a heal. Oh, whatever, dude. You know I had iframes. I was rolling that, and I should have been fine. Oh, lordy. Holy shit, I lived. That's crazy. Could you maybe die now? Like, that'd be pretty cool. Hey, there it is. Yeah, third time was charmed. Took 3 tries. Once I, you know, got reused to how I fought him. Tal'Ratha's not too bad, honestly, as far as world bosses go. And he's reasonable for a melee setup to deal with. One thing I didn't get to test was to see if the soul binder actually split to hit all his projectiles. I didn't think about doing it until this last attempt, and he didn't do that once. So weird. But that's pretty much it, dude. That's doing some dodge stuff, doing just lots of dodgy things. Not efficient, do all of them at once. You know, just don't do it. It can be fun. Lower difficulties, if you're just looking for something different to do, like, yeah, I mean, absolutely do what you want, right? Any of these pieces individually, I think can be a great addition to whatever you're doing, depending on how flexible your setup is, right? If you've got wiggle room and you've got like a spare ring to use, I think it's pretty solid. If you don't really like Burden of the Audacious, I mean, there's other options. Like, you could totally slot in Frivolous Band, Diversion, White Glass Bead, or even just, like, ignore the whole dodge aspect of it and then lean into, like, a different thing. Like, you could totally go into using the Blood Jewel so that your charge attacks will actually bleed enemies, and then using, you know, Spectral Blade to make them bleed, but use it with, like, the Feral Judgment, so those neutral backdash attacks are doing the Death Sentence that does even more damage to bleeding enemies. So, like, maybe I'll do that, because I don't like fist weapons. They just don't, it's just not my jam. I don't really like how they feel, but I would like to like this one. I think it would be cool, but it kind of gets me. Something doesn't sit well with me for it. That's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Always appreciate it when you guys check it out. And, yeah, until the next ones, take care.